you for letting me know. Hey everyone, and welcome to the PieCast. As always, we are here to talk about the latest and greatest in Raspberry Pi projects, Raspberry Pi news, cool stuff you can do with Pi, and of course, very importantly, take your questions and comments in the chat room from 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. BST. We are on live, but of course you can also catch this broadcast on YouTube at any time, on our Tom's Hardware Facebook channel at any time, and in audio format wherever podcasts are downloaded. Of course, we appreciate especially folks subscribing at youtube.com/Tom's Hardware so that we can keep you up to date with all of our videos, not just the podcast. I'm Avram Pilch, Tom's Hardware Editor-in-Chief, and today, as always, I am joined by Associate Editor Les Pounder, resident Raspberry Pi expert Ash Puckett, and a two-time guest and contributor, Caroline Dunn. Caroline, how are you doing?
I'm awesome. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yes.
And those of you who are not on audio only can see that Caroline is wearing a project that she's here to talk about. So what is that on your head?
It is a crown, RGB Neopixel crown matrix attached to a face shield. I volunteer with Atlanta Beats COVID, and this is one of the face shields that we make. And yesterday I decided to hot glue on a 32x8 Neopixel and attach it to a Raspberry Pi. And then I designed this crown myself. And I, programmed in the pixels individually, which probably was not the most efficient way, but decided to do it the old-fashioned way of programming. And thus, we now have the Pi crown.
Wow. So, is it programmed to do different colors based on different things that you do? Like, what does it react to?
Oh, well, right now it's in prototype phase. So early on, it took me a while to get the materials. So I just got the materials in. But if you give me a little sentence or a little phrase, I will type it in on my little computer, and then I can do scrolling text.
Oh, cool.
So Ash, tell me what you want me to say on my head.
Ash, what do you want her to say on her head?
PieCast is awesome.
PieCast is awesome. Let's see if that works here.
Hey, and it's true.
Wow.
I didn't expect it to do lowercase too. That looks great.
So what? So that's obviously you still have to wear a mask under that, right, for it to really be safe.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. That is the original project that I'm actually working on, is a face mask with an 8x8 Neopixel inside, and then I could do scrolling text right here, and I could really just go crazy and just be just scrolling text everywhere.
That's true. Could you make it look like a mouth?
Yeah, of course. And yeah, I can do, and these are individually adjustable LEDs. So yeah, I could do different colors everywhere, if you just go crazy doing the design.
So those are Adafruit Neopixels?
Yes and no. They're Neopixels, but they're kind of third-party now-ish. And so you really can pick these up anywhere, by these different vendors. And yeah, they work on Arduino, they work on ESP32, they work on, you can buy a module without doing any programming and just hook it up to the back and then hook it up to your phone and do some sort of Bluetooth stuff too.
So what are you using to connect them to the Pi?
I can take it off.
Yeah.
And I can do the behind the scenes demo.
Yeah, behind the scenes.
Woo!
All about behind the scenes.
All right. So hopefully y'all can see this. This is my power bank. So I just have a power bank and this is the red black. This is just the power to the NeoPixels itself. And then there is a data in and a ground. Hopefully you can see that right here coming out of my NeoPixels. And that goes over to my Raspberry Pi. And it's Raspbian operating system. So yesterday when I tried this on, what I did was I can actually hook up the Pi and this. If you have one of these power bank chargers that has 2 inputs or 2 power things, you can actually power the Pi and the NeoPixel with one big charger. I put it on my head. My face shield has this nice little shelf inside. It was really heavy and the face shield kind of fell off.
So you're running, how are you adapting the USB from the power bank to the voltage for the NeoPixel?
I'm cheating, actually. The NeoPixel's 5 volts and the power bank is 5 volts. So it's a match made in heaven. I just took an old micro USB cable and I just cut off the end and just started stripping the wires. And then last night I soldered on the wires and put on some lovely heat shrink here.
So this is interesting. Perhaps everybody else, perhaps the rest of our viewers all knew this, but I didn't realize that you could cut open a USB cable and resolder it to turn it into a 5-volt power cable.
Maybe you shouldn't be doing that. Maybe that's not a best practice. Yeah. So maybe let's not, maybe that's...
Won't advertise it?
Expensive ones.
Won't advertise it?
I did solder in a diode in between too for safety.
Right. That's cool. Well, it's really cool to see RGB reaching the PPE, RGB in the PPE, because we need, people need to wear their PPE. So if they can feel some degree of individual expression while wearing them, maybe they'll feel better about wearing them, and maybe they'll have a little bit more fun in an otherwise ominous piece of equipment that is absolutely necessary, but doesn't usually look very good. So
hey, I'm calling it now. Face masks are going to be the latest trend in fashion. I know you're not doing a fashion show, but if you want my fashion advice, I got lots of it. And face mask is the next fashion expression.
Yeah, no question. So this mask is just a regular cloth mask, right? It doesn't have any kind of special protection level.
Well, actually, this is a mask I found on the ground, honestly, and I washed it before I brought it on the show. But I'm having a friend custom sew me a mask with this this translucent fabric so that we can see the LED light up through the fabric. So I'm working on, I'm in progress on this actual project, and I'm hoping to get it published on Tom's Hardware. What do you think?
Good chance of that. Good chance of that. I also want to call attention to some of the other articles that Caroline has done for us recently. For example, and this is very important, life-changing stuff, you recently wrote about how to make a toilet paper detector to make sure that you're not running out of TP.
Very important, okay, stuff that we need in life today is, you go into the bathroom and there's no toilet paper and you're just, we're already stressed out enough as it is. Now you can receive an email every hour on the hour when you're out of toilet paper. So you have a forewarning before you go into the bathroom. Yeah,
I mean, it's really important. I mean, look how many people have been caught out there. Now, I guess a really interesting question is, could you do the same thing with the toilet seat? Could we use some type of a sensor to tell when the toilet seat is up? Perhaps even use some type of a magnet or a motor to force close it.
Brilliant. Okay. As a female, obviously, we are all built in with toilet seat, up, down detectors just automatically. Okay. I can totally just program that into a Raspberry Pi. No problem. And they are selling smart toilets these days that do automatically know which way it needs to go, and it goes up and down and everything. So I don't want to delve into or take business away from the smart toilet people. We want them to do well too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be interesting though to try and figure out how one might do it. My big problem actually is in my house. It's not me. I always put the seat down. It's like when my mother comes to visit, she leaves it up. Believe it or not.
You need to have a talk with her about that.
I've tried.
And then you need to have an automated email that lets you know, so you can.
Yes, exactly. Email. So. Let's talk about some of the other cool projects that we have going on. Last week, Les, you showed us Twister OS, which we have a big story up on right now on how to use and take advantage of Twister OS to make your Raspberry Pi operating system look like Windows or Mac. Not OS2 or BEOS, unfortunately, but a lot of other operating systems. What do you have to show us this week?
Well, this week it's based on Twister OS. I'm using that as my primary OS these days. And I'm messing around with Cooler Master's latest case, the Pi Case 40, which was a Kickstarter project about 6 weeks ago. It was out. And I was sent a model for review, and I've got it in front of me. And I'm going to show you a quick image of it now. So there it is. It doesn't come with the blue tape or the camera. That's the project I'm going to demonstrate now. The Pi Case 40 from Cooler Master is a great little case. The review's going to be up this week. And I wanted to do something fun with it, because if you see in the top right of that photograph, there's like a circle, a hollow circle. That is actually a button, and it's a user programmable button, which can be used to safely power off the Pi or to do anything that you want. So I wanted to play around with that button and see what I could do. So I thought, well, okay, I've got a camera on the desk. I've got a little bit of Python knowledge. I'm going to write something in Python to do something cool with the camera. So hopefully you can all see this properly. This is Phony, the default Python editor. And it's a little script, and I'm going to explain it very quickly. But the first 4 lines are importing a series of modules, some libraries of pre-written code that enable me to use the camera, to use the button on the Pi Case 40, and also to pause or control the speed of the program. Lines 6 and 7 create an object to connect my code to the camera and to set the resolution of the image to 800 by 600 pixels. I've then got a function, line 9, called ArtHouse. And this function really goes through all the built-in camera effects, the filters, like Snapchat filters that are possible, and puts them on screen quickly for 2 seconds, then turns it off and goes to the next one. So it cycles through all of these weird filter effects that you can see. And the last 3 lines really just say that I have a button connected to GPIO pin 3, which is Pi Case 40's button. And then when it's pressed, run that function. And that's it. So I'm going to demonstrate it live now. So obviously it's going to go well, isn't it? Let's give it a test. So the code is running, and I'm going to press the button. And you should see on the screen, me, hello. This is live. So I can wave, I can talk to you about what's going on. It's going through every single filter that the Pi camera software has. So the one I like is called Graphic Pen, G Pen. It's like a 1990s comic book art style. It's really cool. But this is all live video, so I could record this if I wanted to. I could save it as an image. I could do whatever I want with it. And after about 15 seconds, it's going to stop. It's going to go through all of the different filters. And there are some weird and wonderful ones. Solarize is quite good, and Comic Book, they're good. And this took me about 45 minutes to write and test, and also to find a piece of sticky tape to hold the camera to the case. And there we go.
What are your thoughts on that case?
It's a nice case. It's really well made. It's aluminium all the way around with a TPU bumper to protect the ports. Really well made. It's got decent thermal properties. I won't give the game away too much because of the review coming out of this, but it's got decent thermal properties for a Pi 4. My only little snag is the GPIO, and it's a thing I have with every single Pi case I've ever come to. GPIO access is there, but it's not what it should be. But I'm going to save that for the review so readers can have a good read of that.
That brings me that brings me to a question for the group and the audience. What is your favorite Raspberry Pi case? Caroline, do you have one?
Of course, I have one. I have the one I like. My favorite one, of course, is the one Ash posted on Tom's Hardware a few weeks ago, which was the one that actually looked like a Raspberry Pi.
Oh yeah, that one was good.
Yeah,
It did have good cooling too, because of all the little holes where the Pi top is.
That's cute. That's cute. How about you, Ash? What's your favorite Raspberry Pi case?
I agree with Les that it's important to have GPIO access. So I don't have a specific model that's favorite. Anything that has like a lid that's easy to remove so I can get to whatever I need to plug stuff in, I'm happy with.
And Les, do you have a particular one that you like best?
My favorite is the Argon 1, which it's a monster of a case. It's quite large, but it has good GPIO access. I mean, it has the entire GPIO reproduced on top of the case for easy access. It's got good cooling, and it routes all of the wires to the back of the case, so your desk doesn't look like Spaghetti Junction or a freeway, to say, which is what my desk looks like right now for this demo I've been working on.
So I have a couple cases in front of me that are my two favorites and ranked. And I want to mention that we have a list of best Raspberry Pi cases on tomshardware.com for you to check out. And these are both at the top of the list. So first case I have here, and I have, as always, in the middle of a project, so I don't want to pull the ribbon out. But this is the Argon Neo Case. The Argon Neo Case puts your Raspberry Pi 4 under this plate here, and it comes with a thermal pad. So it gets heat. It can actually do passive heat transfer. So you don't need a fan, although the GPIOs are totally exposed here, and you can put a fan hat on top of it. In addition, if you don't want access to the GPIO pins, you can use this lovely magnetic metal case, and it'll slide closed. And this is aluminum. I think most of the case is aluminum except for the bottom, and this is $15. The Argon Neo. I like it a lot. Accessing these GPIO pins is easy. Accessing the camera port is pretty easy, although I did have to use kind of tweezers to move the camera port. I have to say, my least favorite thing to do with the Raspberry Pi is to take the camera ribbon in and out. I find that the most annoying feature. I really wish they would do something to make it easier to get those ribbons in and out. The other case I want to show here, and it has a hat on it, it's hard to take the hat off, is the Pimoroni Pibo Coupe. And this is a completely open air case. So if I could take the hat I have on off without breaking it, you would see that underneath it has, easy access. Here we go. Easy access to the GPIO and to the camera. And you can put a little fan like the fan shim on this, and it's very, very easy to put a hat because there's no cover. This is it. So this is a fairly open air case, but I like the rainbow colors. You can get in other colors, and it's pretty. And this is also, I think, $10 to $15. So my advice, I guess, going with along with Ash and Les, is GPIO pins. You must have good access to GPIO pins, which is why I like the Argon Neo so much, because it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. You have your access to GPIO pins, but then you can also close it up nice and tight if you don't want people looking at the pins. So Ash, you have a new project that you were going to show the audience. Really curious to see that.
Yeah, so after working on the house this summer, I realized that we don't have a doorbell. It's not something I think about often, but because of the coronavirus lockdown, being home, we've been ordering a lot of packages online. And usually the delivery drivers just knock on the door and leave the package. But I decided that a Raspberry Pi project might be a little bit more fun. So I created this Raspberry Pi package delivery notification system / doorbell. And for those of you who can't see the screen, I've got a top-down camera looking at my Raspberry Pi. I have two 30 millimeter arcade buttons that are soldered and connected to the GPIO pins. I've got a feed at the top of the terminal window that's running the program that I designed. And in the bottom left, we have a live video feed of my text messages on my phone. So what I'm going to do first is press this blue button, and it's going to send a notification text message that I've got a delivery. There we go. It sent a message, and you can see it in the terminal, a line that says we've got a delivery, and on my cell phone, text messages pop up. And if I hit the red button, it should say that somebody's at the door. We'll give it a second, see if it hits my phone. And there we go. And that's how it works. And what I'd like to do ultimately is put it in a waterproof housing and mount it to the outside of the house. So I've designed a case in Blender, and here's what it looks like. We've got 2 holes for those arcade buttons and 2 holes for screws to put it into the side of the house. On the back, I added a little bit of a groove so I could put some of the Pi components there, probably with something fancy like duct tape or hot glue. And I've got little words that label each button, one for the package delivery and one for the doorbell.
Neat. So one of our viewers, Alistair, shared that he just made a Lego Pi rack case, and I opened it up in another window, and it actually looks pretty cool. Let's see if I can do a quick share screen of the Pi rack case that Alistair showed, so you can see. Ta-da! That looks pretty cool, Alistair. Those who are doing audio only, it's a Lego case that looks like a rack for. Alistair, can you tell us how many pies this is supposed to fit? It looks like easily 12 pies could be fit in this rack. It's amazing what people can do when they combine Lego with Pi. There's a lot of great stuff to be done there for sure. So one more thing I wanted to talk about is we try to do a couple, at least one tutorial on every episode, and sometimes we cover things that are a little more complicated, and sometimes we cover things that are a little more basic. And today's is a little more basic, but for anyone watching or listening who does not know how to do this, I think it's really useful to emphasize. So Alistair says 12 pies or 1 pie and several accessories can fit into his rack. So I wanted to talk about real briefly how to do a headless Raspberry Pi install. I think a lot of us have done headless Raspberry Pi installs, but for those who haven't, or who are wondering what's the easiest, quickest way to do it, I just want to walk through it real quick. So a headless Raspberry Pi install is when your Raspberry Pi does not need a keyboard, a screen, or a mouse. You just turn it on and you remote control it from your regular PC, which I have to say is what I do like 99% of the time with my Raspberry Pis. How about you guys? Are you usually doing headless, or are you usually doing using keyboard and mouse to control it?
Definitely headless.
Typically headless.
What? Ash pulls out her wireless keyboard. Caroline says,
Definitely headless.
That's the same.
Yeah.
The NC viewer is my friend.
Yeah, I mean, constantly doing it. just because there's just not enough desk space, and I just want to control it from the comfort of my main computer. So, so the simplest way to get started with this, and we have an article about this on Tom's Hardware, is first of all, you got to burn your Pi. So if you're running, well, we all know about Raspberry Pi Imager, but we had someone from the Bellina company on a few weeks ago talking about Etcher. So I'm going to show that briefly. Etcher is a great tool for installing Raspberry Pi onto a micro SD card, because what you really want is what you really want to do is, obviously, you want to download yourself. You can do several things through Etcher, but I like to just actually go and download my copy of Raspberry Pi OS, the latest one. If you're not sure which, probably you want the 32-bit one with desktop, and then you use Etcher here, which you could use a number of ways, but key element is you want to select the image that you just downloaded, and once you've selected the image that you downloaded, then you want to a bunch of stuff in here. Hey, okay, clicked it so many times it wants me to do it again. Okay, so pick my micro SD card, hit the flash button, wait like 3 minutes. After that is all done, I'm going to go to the root of my card, which is visible in Windows, and that is the boot folder. In here, I'm going to put 2 files that I need, just 2. One, I'm going to create a file called SSH, and I don't have to put anything in it at all in the boot folder of my micro SD card. In fact, it doesn't need a file extension. And then the other is my WPA_supplicant file. That is the file that is going to tell my Raspberry Pi how to log into my local network. And if you look at it, it's very simple. It has fields for the country that you're in. It's important to fill that out. The scan, you set it to scan SSID = 1, and then you just put in your SSID and the password. What I like to do is actually keep a copy of my WPA supplicant file always handy on my PC. So anytime I want to burn a new Raspberry Pi card, I don't have to recreate the file. And then I copy it over to the boot folder on my micro SD card for Raspberry Pi. And now I've done everything to make this start. So my next move is I'm going to take the card, I put it into my Raspberry Pi, and I'm able to, from there, connect to it using PuTTY, which is the common SSH tool that people use to get into the command line. And when we do that, we're able to, now, by default, the name of this is going to be Raspberry Pi. So the host name is going to be Raspberry Pi. So we know once this is booted up, with my luck, it won't boot up, but we'll see. Once this is booted up, it will not boot up because I'm still waiting for it, because I put in the card at the wrong time. No, it's still going. Raspberry Pi takes about 30 seconds to boot, depending on how fast your card and what else it's doing. But what should happen is you use PuTTY, which is a free tool, and then it will appear on your local network. Oh, I know why it's not working on my local network. Never mind. Forget the demo. It's not working on my local network because I used fake credentials to show you in the demo rather than my real SSID. But you would then use Buddy, and then you would get in via SSH. Then you could turn on VNC so you can actually remote control it. Then you would change the host name, and you would do, and you'd be off to the races with a new card that you can use for controlling other things, for connecting to GPIO, but you won't need to give it its own keyboard, screen, and mouse. Pretty simple. I'm curious, Caroline and Les, are there anything else that you do when you do a headless install that makes it a little bit easier or more seamless?
Typically, if it's just for something in the home to mess around with, I'll keep all the credentials standard. So the Raspberry Pi host name, and also keep the standard username and password, because I'm not too worried about it going off into the world and doing awful things. It's in my home network. If it's outside of that, then I'll lock it down very tight to make sure it's safe.
Yep.
I don't go headless right from the get-go like you do. I hook it up to a monitor and a mouse and a keyboard for the first go around, so I can change the password and I can get all the latest updates, and then I go headless because I want to run that wizard thing.
You'll still have to run. You'll still be able to run the wizard thing the first time you log into VNC. So you can still do it. It's just, I don't know about you, disk space is at a premium. So so sometimes there are things like if I need to test the speed it takes to open an app, of course I got to do that. Or I want to play a game, or I want to do something with a camera, of course I got to do that on a direct screen. But if not, it's so much faster to just do the headless way. Anyway, since we don't have a lot of questions from the audience, I want to thank our special guest, Caroline Dunn, for joining us. We look forward to invite everybody to check out her YouTube channel, where she's got a lot of fantastic stuff. Where can people find you?
I'm Caroline Dunn on YouTube. So just search on Caroline Dunn or just youtube.com/Caroline.
Yep. And of course, we're youtube.com/Tom's Hardware, and we would love it if you subscribed. We have this show, the podcast, every Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. BST. And we will see you all next week. Bye.